And okay, we're set there. And I can see you all. So first of all, just let's lie down. And if you want also something under your head, if you're a person whose neck is tender, that's always a nice help. And you can begin to just find yourself on the floor. Find your connection. Feel every place that you connect to the floor. Every place your body is on the floor. And begin to let those areas get easy, get heavy and soft, and make more and more connection to the floor. And you can run a scan up and down your body. We have some things going on for people, so people already know sore spots and injuries, but check and see what else is going on. What is happening in your body today? And is anything calling to you to ask to be guarded and protected, or anything that needs to be stretched or eased? Anything that's calling, would like to do a little work, get a little heat and warmth from movement? So Labor Day is a celebration of workers, and we have all been workers and are all still workers. But at this stage in our life, many of us are reinventing for the third, fourth, fifth time our relationship to work. Some of us are able to do the work we want in our gardens or our homes or volunteering somewhere. Some of us are still working full time. Some of us have been called to do work, caretaking of older relatives or children, grandchildren. So it's a time where we continue to work. Human beings work all their lives, but it's a different relationship to work. And just yesterday, I was at the beach. I walked down to Squalicum Beach with my dog, and I was just sitting there and looking out. I didn't have anything to do except sit there and look at the water and the people going by and the animals, the birds and the wind and the boats. And I sat there for a long time, and I thought, this is something that we need more of. We all need more time to just stare at the flowers or the sky or the birds and connect to the world around us in this way, in this very quiet, observant way. And that's what I'd like to do today with us, with our bodies, is to have that connection. Let our minds come back into our bodies and have that quiet time of observation. Observation as we're still, observation as we do a little bit of stretching, observation as we hold a pose or move into a pose. And observation would include our breath, as our breath moves in and out of our body, that natural rhythm of breath, like the wind or the waves rolling into shore, that we carry with us, because we are just as much part of the natural world as the birds and the waves moving. And so we are just as worthy of that observation and that presence, of being present with what's happening in our bodies. So as you lie here and feel your body release to the earth from whence we all come, which we will return to, feel that support and feel your muscles let go and recognize that support and come home to that support. Let your mind be at home in your body at home on the earth. And we'll do some breath work while we're here. Let's come into a samavriti, which is a even ratio inhale and exhale. And take a long count. Let's start with 4 long counts of your own breath. 4 in and 4 out. And if that's comfortable for you, try increasing to 6 counts. 6 counts in and 6 counts in, out. Really feeling all the way from your belly rising up to the top of the lungs, up under your shoulder blades, high in your chest, and then releasing all the way down. So the very bottom of your lungs, down by your belly, comes down, all the way in and all the way out. And if it's comfortable, add a pause. When you get to the top of that inhale, pause. Feel your lungs full. And when you finish the long 6 count exhale, let there be a pause there as well. If this cycle is comfortable for you, you can start lengthening that pause. You can make that pause 2 counts long, or even 4 counts long. If at any time in this process of a long inhale, a gentle pause, a long exhale, and a pause, you feel stressed or anxious by the pause or the length of the inhale or exhale, change it. You can eliminate or shorten the pause. You can make the breath shorter as well if it's just too much. But if you can, continue with this pattern or whichever pattern is working for you. 4 counts, 6 counts up, 2 to 4 counts hold, and 6 counts release. A hold at the bottom. And as you count this, feel it. How does it feel? Is it nourishing? Is it work? Is your breath smooth or jerky? Is there a texture or a taste to your breath? Where does it feel like your breath is going in your body? I'm going to be quiet for a few minutes and just let you feel this process of breathing. A long breath like this can be the basis of a meditation. If you find it hard to quiet your mind, which we all do, that's the whole point of meditation. We all find our minds to be squirrel cages. Sometimes for people, this attention to your breath and this counting is something of a framework to return to and begin a meditation practice that is useful to you without that perhaps less frustration. So remember that you can always use this, and that this long inhale and exhale is a process to quiet the mind, to quiet your whole autonomic nervous system, and to let that presence of your mind and your body begin to be stronger, begin to strengthen that. You can always return to this. It's a simple practice. You can do this if you're sitting in a meeting or waiting in a line or at a traffic light. It's always there for you. So let's begin to wake up our bodies a little. As I promised, we are not laboring on Labor Day. We are going to have a very lovely, gentle, easy class. So to begin with, we'll wake up. So you can stretch your arms and legs on the ground and just make the movements that feel comfortable to you. Rolling back and forth across your hips, your shoulders, stretching one arm and one leg, either on one side or across the body. And observe now what happens to your sensations and your breath. How do you feel? This is a classic move to wake up. You see your pets do it. You see a baby do this, stretch, and then babies don't stretch for very long. They rebound like rubber bands, but they still stretch. Uh-oh, sorry, my front door blew open. The wind's coming up. And as we come into a windy day, it's even better to find this grounding practice, because the wind can be very enlivening and energetic, and we need to feel ourselves connected to the earth as we enjoy it. Then let's bring the arms and legs together, feet flat on the floor, and your knees up towards the ceiling. Take a nice long breath and run back and forth sideways across your hips. This can be a big motion or a small motion. I know we have at least one very, very sore back. So as you begin these explorations, just move really compassionately, testing what's there. And you can take the same motion across your shoulders. Some of us need this even more than our hips. And as I do this, I like to lift my head and chest with my hands interlocked behind my back to reach the area just under my shoulder blades with this action. And you may like this or may not. This is a little stronger motion with a bit of a crunch in it, but if you tend to carry a lot of tension in that high area just underneath the shoulder blades, sometimes this is helpful. And then as you work through this, you can make those motions smaller, and we'll come into the familiar sequence that we do of exploring around the base of our spine and the pelvis, the lower back. Again, with lots of compassion, you take your hands into your knees and begin to circle the knees as if you can imagine the back of your pelvis and your hips as a clock face, with the coccyx and the hip bones and the top of your sacrum as the four corners of the clock. There are no corners on a clock face, but it would be noon and 3 and 9 and 6. And take your hips in a circle as if you're drawing the rim of that clock face. moving really gently and slowly here. Or if you need it, you can add what you need here to make it stronger. And take the circles in both directions. Luxuriating. It's as if you're waking up on the perfect bed for you. It could be a bed in the forest where you watch the stars all night. It could be a luxury hotel in Paris. Whichever is the bed that you dream of. This is the bed you're waking up with, that sense of being in a wonderful, lovely place. Take your knees apart and feel what happens here. Now just way at the top, the connection up by your groin. How's that today? Is that tight? Is it sore? Usually you can feel some stretching there. You can adjust it by how far you take your knees apart. And if you want to add a gentle pull, if that feels okay to you. You can take your knees up and down, well, I mean towards your head and away from your head in this position. Exploring that. That actually begins to add the beginning of that pelvic tilt, which we will get to in just a moment. But begin with, for a moment, put your feet down on the floor again and let your knees fall open into Baddha Konasana, the butterfly pose, with your soles of your feet together. And breathe here. Breathe here for 3 long breaths and just let gravity happen. If you're feeling like you want to add your hands with a gentle encouragement of your knees towards the floor, you can. But gravity is usually plenty for us here. Letting that area, it usually again is up high in the hip joint, up by the connections in your groin, the long, strong tendons running on the inside of your legs there. Right up where they attach, you may feel a little tug and opening. Send that long breath into that area. And to close your knees, you can take your hands on the outside of your thighs and bring them together. Let's bring the right knee in towards the body. It can be a little bit in or a long or a close hug. And stretch the left leg long. And with an out breath, encourage that leg towards your body as much as it's available for you today. The left leg is working, it's engaged, it's pressing the heel away with a flexed foot and pressing into the floor. It doesn't have to be a big amount of work, just engaging the muscles so the leg isn't limp. And bring that knee in as far as it will come. Feel your breath. What happens to your breath when you're compressing that one side of your lower abdomen? Where does the breath go? How does it feel? And then release the right leg long and take another breath for comparison. And then let's bring the left leg in the same way. Embrace the leg and encourage it towards your body, while the right leg is flexing the foot and reaching long. In this position now, check your shoulders. Are your shoulders coming off the ground? See if you can relax your shoulders down to the ground and feel the pelvis, that back of the pelvis. There's oftentimes a lot of muscle and flesh there, so you kind of have to concentrate to feel what's going on with the muscles and the bones. Just kind of reach inside and explore your anatomy with your mind and feel what's happening. How does it feel? You can bring that leg in with an exhale and Again, check the breath action here. Observing yourself just as you would watch the waves rolling in with that gentle, non-judgmental pleasure of a natural phenomenon. These wonderful bodies that have taken us so far through the world and stretched that leg long, seen so many things. Maybe given birth, watched people leave you, watched people return, traveled the world, dug gardens. And now let's take another full body stretch. And this time we're going to add a lateral stretch by taking the left hand in the right wrist and encouraging the C shape or a gentle crescent moon shape by taking both the hands and the feet over to the right with the shoulder blades and the hips still flat on the floor. And send your breath into the rib area. Feel all the way from the hip joints to the shoulder joint on the left side, how that is fanning open. Giving room for your breath to explore every crevice there. And release that side. Take the right wrist with the left hand and make this curve in the other direction, a little bracket shape. And not only is the stretch from your hip joint to your shoulder joint, but all the way from your feet up to your fingertips. Long lateral stretch, opening up that whole area with your breath and to your breath, as if your breath can flow through the foot and out your fingertips. Making this beautiful crescent shape on the floor. It's like all the crescent shapes we see in nature. And let go of that. And let's make a 5-pointed star on the floor by moving your feet apart and your hands apart. Doesn't have to be far, just as far as feels right. Stretch out through your hands and through your feet. Keep your feet flexed as if you're standing on the floor, and feel the edges of your feet. You can open your hands and your fingers and your toes wide. And again, feel all that breath energy moving through you. Then bring your knees, both knees, into the chest and give yourself a gentle hug. Another rock back and forth across the lower hips. And place your feet on the floor. Take your hands and press them with the heels into your hip joint. Feet are on the floor, knees are pressing up to the sky. And press into that hip joint away from you as your legs press back into you and your belly moves into the ground. Tractioning your back. Again, anyone with a sore back is going to do these very, very gently and carefully. Just exploring what's going on with that action. If you have muscle spasms in your back, it's so painful. But working through some of these in a gentle way, you may be able to actually feel exactly where those spasms are. And once you know where to place your heat, and you know where to place your cold, and where to work your exercises and your massages. Then let's begin that pelvic tilt. And we're warmed up a little bit here, so if you want to add your arms right away overhead with the inhale, your belly rises high, and then lower it down with your exhale. And depending on your energy level, as I say, we are not laboring today. So if it feels like really hard work and it's not a good hard work for you, then you do not have to do anything more. But if you want to start lifting your hips off the floor as you exhale, inhaling, let's inhale the arms up overhead, and as we exhale, push the hips up the floor. Today, that's the opposite from what we do sometimes. The inhale and exhales have a purpose. We usually exhale with a contraction and inhale with an expansion. But you may find yourself breathing in opposite patterns from which the teacher gives you. And that is not wrong. It's just what feels right in your body today. And sometimes it's nice to mix it up and try it a different direction. So we're exhaling our body. We're inhaling our body down instead of exhaling. And if you get mixed up and do it the way we usually do, that's perfectly fine. Next time you come to the bridge pose, let's take a moment to hold it and wiggle your shoulder blades under your body. You can have your arms long or bend at the elbow with your hands facing each other and their fingertips pointing at the ceiling. That's a nice position because you can press a little into your upper arms to give you some more strength. And feel your feet pushing into the floor. Then let's see where you can relax in this pose. The legs are going to work. How can you do that at the minimum? The back of the legs are light. Front of the legs are actually stretching. The front of the pelvis is stretching. The arms may be working some, but your head and neck can relax. Your face can relax. Lift your toes and spread them on the ground. Those toes can relax. How is the breath moving here? What's happening to the breath? If it's hard to breathe, lower your bridge a little. If it's really hard to breathe, it's time to come out. And then with an exhale, let's all lower ourselves. Lift your heels up before you lower. Lift your heels up and see if you can lower very slowly through one vertebrae at a time. Now take a moment's breath here, and we will do our figure 4 stretch. Before we come to a different position, while we're conveniently placed, we'll take the right leg and flex it at the knee and place it on top of the left. Then you encourage that knee away from the body, finding a stretch in the back of your upper hip in the glute. If you feel that stretch right now, you hold this position. If you need to move a little farther to get a good stretch, then reach through and take the back of your thigh in your hands and pull that towards your body to find that stretch in the back, way in those deep glute muscles. You can rock your legs slightly across your body as well to explore where that optimum stretch is for you. A stretch that feels like a good massage. It may be an edge of like, ooh, wow, that's good, but never pain. Never coming into a painful place. We're not ripping our muscles. We're encouraging them to open. And when you find that good sensation, you send your breath in there. Imagine you can pour that river, that ocean of breath. Well, that'd probably be too much, wouldn't it be? Let's call it a gentle stream of breath into that, where it works like a stream does around all the blockages. It trickles through, it wears away at those tight places, letting them move freely, stay open and healthy. Release the right knee, and we'll reverse it by placing the left knee on top of the right leg. And again, explore whether you enough stretch right now by pressing that knee away, or if you want to reach further by taking the thigh towards your body. Keep the foot that's on top here, or the one that's across, flexed. That adds a little bit of work and protection to the knee. There are times when this action can really be hard on your knees. So this is and if it is, if you find this action bothers you, you're not going to do it. But this is the most gentle way to do this stretch. And adding the flex foot is a good protection of that knee. And then relieve. Well, let's do another breath here. We gave the first side a nice long work. So let's add another breath here. And release. I would like to come from here to a seat. So if you have trouble getting up, the easiest way to get up is to roll to your right and push up with the hand that's by your shoulders. And take some time. Some of us I know have sore hips or knees, and you need to make a comfortable place to sit. So go ahead and take your time. We'll be here for a little while. I recommend everybody have something under your seat, at least a blanket, but you might want a couple of blocks and a blanket, whatever you need to be really, really comfortable. We'll be here for a little while. And as you arrive in your seat, take a moment again to observe the breath, the natural motion of the breath. How does it feel to be sitting up? How are your lungs working and opening here? What's going on today? I recommend beginning as you arrive into your seat with some shoulder shrugs, making sure that those shoulders are nice and flat on your back. And I'm sticking with my theme here. We are not laboring on Labor Day. It's going to be a really gentle class. We'll move slowly. We will eventually stand up, but this is for us to pay attention to what's going on with you, with that reverence we always use watching the rest of nature. Today, you are that rare, beautiful bird you've never seen before. And you are worthy of exactly that intent, grateful observation that we give the rest of the world sometimes. So feel those shoulders on your back and take a moment to look at the alignment. We want the shoulders back towards the hips and the sternum lifted. And then the head is going to lift, and with your neck, the back of your head is going to move up and back so that your ears are coming towards alignment with your shoulders. And here you are. We sometimes talk about bandhas in yoga, and the one that I mention now and then is the Mula Bandha. And I thought we'd go over the 3 bandhas today because there are 2 of them that we don't work with in this class very much, but they are useful. So as you come to your comfortable seat and you find yourself aligned, feel your hips nice and strong on the floor, the grounding. The wind, today's wind is not affecting you. You are strongly grounded on the floor. The wind is just a distraction, a pleasant distraction here as it rages around your house. Feel yourself solidly placed. The first bandha, or the bottom, the lowest bandha, is Mula Bandha. And as I think we have all women in class today, that's very familiar to us as our pelvic floors. We learn with gynecological issues and childbirth to deal with the pelvic floor. To contract the Mula Bandha, it is just the same feeling we use to stop the flow of urine. It's just that grasping and lifting. Someone described the pelvic floor to me as a diamond shape of muscle that attaches at your hips and at the front of your pubic bone and then back at the sternum. And when we do this, it's like a trampoline, and it can be soft or it can be taut, just like a trampoline. But as a trampoline is usually taut, the Mula Bandha can be soft. And it can also be too tight. So all the actions we do with it, for most of us, it gets loose, but occasionally people have them are tight. But take your breath, and as you inhale, feel that Mula Bandha contract. And then bring the breath all the way to the top of your body. And exhale, and as you exhale, loosen the Mula Bandha. Let it be soft. Let gravity take it down. Inhale and tighten, lift, exhale, and let it relax. One more time. Inhale and lift, exhale, and let it go. That's Mula Bandha. The locks, the binds of yoga, the bandhas, are a way to change the flow of energy. And when you tighten the Mula Bandha, you increase the energy of that area, but you change the flow of the energy through your body. And the same for the other bandhas. The next one is the breath lock, And I'm not going to give you the Sanskrit name because I do not want to disgrace the Sanskrit language by my pronunciation. To easily access the breath lock, all you do is exhale, a strong exhale. Feel your belly go back. And the belly contracts. That's all there is to it. That strong contraction of the belly as you exhale. Inhale and exhale. And feel that bandha, that strong contraction of your belly. You may feel your body move forward a little bit. That's perfectly natural. And as you see a yogi working this contraction, they will do that. They will take a deep breath and go, and you'll see their bellies lift way up under their ribs. That's the breath lock. It does not have to look like that. A woman's anatomy is different than a dedicated yogi who works this all the time. But it's that sensation of your belly lifting up. So this time we're going to exhale and we're going to lift the Mula Bandha and engage the breath bandha. So it's inhale, exhale, and the bandhas. Find your locks, find the bandhas. And then inhale and release. So it's that sensation, it's almost like a modern dance contraction. The bandha, the lower bandha lifts, the inhale, the upper bandha lifts, the breath lock comes in. And you may notice as you do this that your chin falls to your chest. That's a natural engagement of the upper bandha, the chin lock. So for the upper bandha, and let's try this on its own. It's very simple. The head stays lifted, the body stays strong, and the chin drops. So the back of your neck is lengthened. The rest of your body stays the same as just that little chin drop. And then you can lift. So exhale and drop the chin. Inhale and lift. Exhale and drop the chin. Keep the shoulders down, the body, the spine long and tall, and lift. 3 bandhas. Let's try them all at once. Mula Bandha with an exhale, Mula Bandha, breath lock, and the chin. And lift. 2 more times. Lift, contract, exhale, and 1 more time. Inhale, long and tall. Exhale and feel the bandhas, the locks come in. And inhale. So that's one of those subtle movements that engages the interior of your body, a place we don't play with very much, a place we just let tick along and do its work, that you can engage. And these are powerful areas, and they can be used within the asanas. We don't talk about that very much because it brings in a kind of complexity that we don't always have time for. But it's good stuff to know, it's good stuff to be aware of, and you can always play with it, especially within your pose work. So while we're here, let's take advantage and everybody stretch their legs out long in front. You've had your legs crossed for a while, so release those knees and move them around. I see it getting a very good picture of my feet here. Let's see if I can do this. And then you can take your weight back on your hands and start engaging the feet. Let's take the feet in big circles, opening your toes as you do so, really engaging, and feel how this moves virtually every muscle in your legs as you're doing it. And then let's take them the other direction. And then shake them out. And those of us who have dirty floors, flex your feet in front of you and flex your toes back and see what's happened from the whole summer of going barefoot in the backyard. Stretch those toes long. And release and point your feet. And flex and point 2 more times. Really activating the back of your legs and then the front of your legs and then the back. One more time. Okay. And then we're going to move. Let's move from here to hands and knees. So whichever way is comfortable for you. We're going to do a little bit of work on hands and knees. I see Jilly is here. Jillian has knee replacements. So everybody pad. And Jillian, if this is not comfortable for you on hands and knees, make whatever adjustments you need to do, because it's not always okay for knee replacements to put the weight on the hands and knees. We'll stay here to begin with just some cat-cows. So release the shoulders and the belly down. And then exhale and take that arch. And inhale. Long and long, let the belly drop. Feel the chest, the heart move through your shoulder blades. And exhale. And inhale. Feel that nice rippling of the spine. And if you want to add, moving forward in the inhale towards a half plank and back towards child pose on the exhale. If this feels good to you today, to add that flow, please do so. At this point, your spine is probably warming up. Paul, I don't know if we've lost you or not, because I know you have a very sore flat back, but it was nice to see you at the beginning of class. And the next time you come forward, and let's everybody join in half plank. And if you wish, you can press your toes under and come up to full plank. And we'll spend just a moment here. You knew that even if I was going to give you a labor-free class, that I was going to add a little bit of core work, because it's me. And you knew as a teacher that I would do this. So we're staying in either half plank or full plank for a moment. Whichever position you're in, take those belly muscles and feel around the sides and see if you can do the same action as you would to contract your waist. Pull in the side muscles. There's a whole layer of muscles around the rectus abdominis that you can contract and bring in. Add another element of strength. Whenever you need to come out, come out. Whenever you need to take a break, take a break. I'm going to go for a little while longer. And you can join me or come down. When you're ready to come down all the way, you know you're done. Lower yourself to your belly, all the way down. Bend your arms and make a pillow for your forehead on your hands. So I'm coming just a little bit longer. If you're hanging with me, good on. If not, do what you can. And let everybody come down. Elbows come back and lower to the floor. Take your hands and stack them so you can rest your forehead on your hands and rock back and forth across the hips in this position. 3 deep breaths here. Feel. How does your breath feel with your stomach on the floor? What's different? What's different within the motion of your body? What's compressed? Does it make your breath go into a different place? Then stretch your arms out in front of you for a moment. And let's lift opposite arm and leg. So finding a position. Engage the belly. The belly is lifting up, protecting and helping your back work. Stretch your right arm out and away, your left leg out and away, and then lift gently up. This can be a really small motion. It does not have to be a big lift. And breathe down. Then the left arm and the right leg reach away with an inhale, lift up. And an exhale, relax down. Repeat, inhale, lift. And exhale down. Your head may want to come with you, and that's fine if it does. Some people will find their head staying on the floor, that's fine too. One more time on each side. And relax both down. Let's bring our arms back, moving towards Sphinx pose. You can have your shoulders over your elbows, but if you find that this is too much for your back today, you can move your hands forward, adjusting how much lift you have in the body. While you're here, you can settle your hips, feel those, the front of your pelvis and your hip bones on the floor, and keep the belly lifted. The legs are not limp, the legs are alive. To help that happen, you can stretch your toes away, feel the front of your feet, the toes on the floor, and press a little bit into the floor. The forearms are taking your weight and pressing into the floor. Hands wide open like sea stars. And then the attention comes to lifting those shoulder blades up and back and the head up. The head isn't cranked, so you may find yourself looking not at the wall in front of you, but more at the floor, 2 or 3 feet in front of you, so that the back of the neck doesn't compress, it stays long. And as you move your shoulders back, your heart and your sternum move forward through that archway. This is a pose, this is work, a little bit of work for Labor Day. So if you're here, what happens if you engage Mula Bandha? What happens if you engage the chin bone, the chin lock? Experiment a little bit. And then just feel the breath moving through the pose. We'll hold it for another breath. If you have sore shoulders or you're feeling this is too much, you come down when you're ready. Let's everyone lower down. Again, take crocodile pose with the forehead on the hands and rock back and forth across your hips. 2 full breaths here. Feel what's going on with your breath now. Feel your shoulders. Feel your back. Observe what's going on in there. Let's return one more time to Sphinx while we're here. This time we'll hold it only for 3 breaths. So find the same position, get the shoulders, blades positioned on the back, reaching towards each other, pressing with the arms and hands and lifting with the lively legs and the belly. And feel it just for 3 breaths. Then you can take your hands under your shoulders and press up to half plank and come to hands and knees. We're going to be moving to a standing position. We are going to stand up even on a legerless day. So take a cat-cow before you do so. And then at your own speed, let's come to standing at the front of the mat. You can take your blankets off the mat. You may want to have one handy if you like to pad knees especially, and I'm going to adjust my screen here so you can see me a little better. See the full body view there. And to begin with, not quite full body, I've cut off my head. All right, so first find your standing position and line up exactly the same way we did as sitting so that your hips, well, except we're going to add the hips over the heels and the shoulders back over the hips, and then see where your head is. Most of us will be slightly forward, so the adjustment is to move this back corner, if your head was a block, up and back. So the chin stays parallel to the floor. We're not looking up, we're looking ahead. And let's do 3 shoulder rolls here. And 1 shoulder stretch. Since we did all that Sphinx work, take your right arm out, or I have my left arm, but whichever arm you prefer to start with, out to the side, and then bring it across the body. And at some point here, if you can keep your shoulder back, you will feel the beginnings of a stretch. You can take this other arm and hook it around to feel that happen. And we'll do the same thing with the other side. Open the other arm out, bring it across the body. Important to keep this shoulder back, and so that the action happens on the outside of the shoulder here. You'll probably feel it in one arm a lot more than the other, because of our handedness. Usually it's the arm that you work more where you find this. And release. Let's add one more big stretch just in mountain position. you can heel toe your feet a little closer than normal. They can have your toe mounds touching if you like, so your feet are almost together. And then reach your arms up, and we'll do the same lateral stretch we did on the floor. So I'm taking my right hand around my left wrist and reaching up and letting my hips bow out a wee bit. Depending on your back and your body, you can take this all in the upper body, keeping your hips solidly in place. Or if this feels okay and you want to try, you can allow those hips to reach out too. Just move into it slowly and feel what's happening. If you find that it's stressful or painful, don't do it. And keep, again, the belly alive, engaged. Feel that stretch. And in this position, if you look at your monitor, you'll be able to see your crescent. Beautiful new moon crescent. And with an in-breath, come up, reverse your hands, and take it to the other side. Lift up and over, and then, if you wish, begin to push those hips out a little, adding to that action. You can let your head relax onto the bottom arm. And lift up. Open the arms. Let's do 3 gatherings of the breath. So with a deep breath, lift the arms and reach up into that windy, sunny sky. Gather what energy you need and bring it to your heart. 2 more times. Inhale up and hold it. Hold that mystery between your hands. 1 more time. And into the heart. Nice. Come to the front of our mats, whichever side you want to call the front, a short edge. And again, find your mountain and check your alignment. And we are going to this is going to be a nice short section, don't worry. We are not laboring today. Hands on hips. I'm taking my right, I'm actually going to take my left foot back so you can see a little better. And coming into warrior 1. So there's space between your heels. Your hip bones are oriented toward the front edge of your mat. The back foot toes are reaching a little bit forward, and the whole back of your foot is nicely grounded on the floor. The front knee bends gently. You don't want to take your knee beyond your toes. Your knee's going to stay over your ankle. So if you have room to make a nice bend in your knee, make sure that you wiggle your foot forward. And then with an in-breath, take the arms all the way up to warrior. We'll do 3 breaths in warrior. And while you're here, feel that breath rushing through your body, flowing through your body. Let's open the arms with an in-breath. And take the hands to the hips. We're going to come forward into humble warrior. So to begin with, the knee stays bent, and you can have your hands on your knees. I should have offered you to bring your blocks to the front of the mat. If you want to make that adjustment now, please do. My blocks have migrated. Oh, there they are. So if you have blocks, that's great. If you need block substitutes, you can use a book or a big jar, or whatever is happy and healthy there. Because from here, we're going to bend at the hip joint, keeping the back long, and come forward. And you can do this with your hand on your thigh. If you have more room, you may come to your blocks or perhaps all the way to the floor. But it's just a forward reaching with your long back and a compression as if you could lay your torso flat onto your thigh. It can be, again, a small movement or a larger one, just depending on where you are today. Humble warrior. And if you have your hands on your blocks, that's great. And breathe here. You can let your head relax once you get to the apex of your particular pose. Humble warrior. Now press through the front foot to lift your back and hands on hips. This time we're going to straighten that front leg, pressing through the front leg, and do exactly the same motion with a long back coming into triangle, to pyramid pose. So this right hip is going to stay working back into line. And from that joint, we're leaning forward. Again, you can place your hands on your thigh as you come forward, looking for the stretch in the big muscles at the back of your front leg. Big hamstring muscles. Trying to keep this back straight as you come forward. And breathe. 3 breaths here. And at the end of your 3rd breath, you can bend that front leg using your blocks or your hand on your thigh. Step forward again to mountain pose. And in mountain pose, take the shoulder blades back onto the back. Feel those feet on the floor. And breathe. Let's do the same thing on the other side. And I'm going to step to the other side of my mat for this. You don't necessarily have to. And this time you're going to take your right leg back to find your warrior 1 footprint. And begin in warrior 1. Classic position, warrior 1. See if you can tilt this back of your pelvis long. Let it lengthen down and really feel that stretch through the psoas and the hip lifters, the flexors in the front of that long back leg. Then breathe the arms up. You may find you want to adjust open a little bit so that your shoulders can relax on the back. Look in front of you and find your focal point and breathe. 3 breaths. And then we're coming into the 2 variations. The first one will be humble warrior. So hands onto your thigh or your blocks. You didn't have to move, so I hope you still have your blocks with you. The joint of that bent knee stays in line with the other hip joint as you relax your torso forward, long back, finding what you have. How much can you move into this front position, long back. And when you get to the apex of your pose, you can relax your head. Feel that back foot really strongly anchored. If you find a challenge to your balance here, make sure that these legs are pulling in towards each other. And that's one of the secrets to lighting up the strength in your legs for balance. And then push into the front leg and lift back to standing so you can change the variation by straightening that front leg and coming forward over that straight leg and finding completely different extension. You can have your Blocks here for balance. You can have your hand on your thigh, gently balancing, pressing in towards the thigh rather than down on it. Will give you a better, you don't want to hyperextend the front leg. So reaching forward. Feeling the stretch through your hamstrings, we hope. Through that front hamstring. Make sure that back foot is really alive, pressing back and into the floor. And then find your breath again and let that breath lift you up with a strong belly. Step forward. Let's come to the front, to the long edge of the mat together and take a moment to reassemble ourselves. Arms come up and through Anjali-asana 3 times. Then bring your block in front of you and heel toe your feet apart to find a straddle position. We'll do a forward stretch in straddle position, and then we're going to do the arm rotation to get a little bit of a crosswise twist in our trunks. So first, just find your parallel position with your feet. So you're nice and solid. Doesn't have to be huge, it's where you're comfortable. We're going to come into the forward fold, and you have your block in front of you. And first, let's come down with a flat back and hands to the block. Find the forward fold with a flat back. Long back, belly is lifted, Mula Bandha can lift, and take that back of the neck long, just like we do when we're adjusting the posture in mountain pose. Really long back, and from that long back, and with a parallel position to the floor, allow yourself to explore what more room there is to come forward. And when you've reached how much room you have, at that point you can relax your back. Make sure that your feet are still very alive. Your feet are working to help your legs stay lively. And experiment with moving your weight back and forth on your feet a little bit to see if you can find that very stable center position. And if you have room to relax forward, you can come into the same ragdoll fold we use with a forward fold. Or you can take your hands in line with your feet. You can stay with the flat back or come back to the flat back if it's more comfortable and more appropriate for you today. Whatever is right for you. One more breath here. And with an in-breath, let's everyone come to the flat back position. It can be hands on the floor or hands on the block. Find your flat back position. Take a breath here. Then release the right arm, weight on the left arm, and with the hips staying level and solid, twist from the trunk, opening to the side. Big in-breath. And then the hands come back with the exhale. Inhale the left arm open and find that twist. So the twist is in the upper back, mostly from the waist to the shoulders. Those hips are staying nice and solid. Exhale down, 2 more times each side. Open wide. Exhale down. Open wide. Exhale down. Then to rise, make sure you can heel toe your feet together if that helps. Make sure your belly is alive so that the blood doesn't all rush into your feet. We'll keep it in the upper half of the torso a little bit and come up. Deep breath here. Let's take the 5-pointed star and find that joy of the little kid on the beach. And hands to hips, heel toe feet together. We'll come to a stable point for a one-legged balance. And we'll do tree today in honor of the wind, because the trees are able to live with the wind and use the wind, and so will we. So find your place. It can be a chair, it can be a wall. Mine happens to be the mantle of the fireplace. And stand perpendicular to, stand where your hand can reach the balancing point easily. Find your posture again, and then pour the weight into the foot that's closest to your balancing point. It's right there. You can start with your hand on that balancing point. So the outside leg is freed up, and you're going to take that knee and rotate it out. Right here, we have the beginning of tree with the toes on the floor into kickstand pose. You can bring the toes up to the calf muscle. Beautiful tree there. Or you can lift it all the way up towards the groin for a different deep tree. Wherever you are, press that foot into the leg. Find a focal point that does not move in front of you. And once you are comfortable, you can release the balancing tool if it's comfortable for you today. You may not. That's fine if you don't, but either way, you have one hand you can free up to find what kind of tree you're growing. Be wide open. Maybe nice to have a saguaro cactus today. Whatever works for you. Let your breath be the wind that moves through the tree. And hands come all the way together, and we come down with as much dignity as is possible today. Deep breath and turn around, and we'll take it on the other side. It's the same sequence, pouring the weight into the leg, letting the outside leg free up, and rotate from the hip with the knee out, finding the level that you want your foot at, anywhere on the leg, but not right into the knee. Press the foot into the leg and the leg into the foot for that nice stable lift. Also shoulders back. Find your focal point and explore what else you want to do. Balance is different every day. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. But every time you work on your balance, you improve your balance. And all those little tiny adjustments through your foot and your knee and your hip are strengthening those muscles in the leg. Then come down when you're ready. See if you can bring your hands down first, and then the leg. Let's come back to the ground. I'd like to come into sitting pose for a moment and do a neck release. So work your way down, and again, construct yourself what kind of seat you need. You can come into father pose if you want this time with the knees bent. This won't work for everybody, but may for you. Find a nice solid seat. And you can also sit in a chair for this because we're going to be releasing the neck. It's not critical that you're on the floor. Just the floor is very handy. If you're in father pose, you may want to have I have a block under my bum. It really helps a lot. Take a moment here to readjust to gravity and feel the world around you. This is our last pose before reaching down to find a good long shavasana. So let's do this by taking the shoulders up and back and reaching out the left hand gently. Then taking the right arm and bending it. And from here, you're going to release your head and bring the arm up to find your head. The reason I'm asking you to do this is so that this psychological trauma of releasing that head completely is lessened. You're not pulling on the head at all. Just gravity is pulling on the head. And the arm is that crooked arm is a safety mechanism to find the will to release that head completely. You can move your chin forward and up, down and up to find the stretch. You can rotate that back arm up and down. Everything looking for a comfortable stretch that's really opening those tough trapezius muscles that work so hard to hold your head in place. Now, if you're very comfortable with this, you can release that support arm. That's always a possibility. Keep that other arm stretching out to elongate the line of the stretch. And send your breath into the log jam of that river of muscle. Let it be the slow current working on that muscle to help it ease and open. Let the water flow through, the water of the breath. And take that other arm, the right arm, the arm that's holding the head or was holding the head, and use that to set the head back on the neck, on the spine. Give yourself a shoulder shrug. We'll do the same thing for the other side. Release that arm long. For me, it's the right arm. That's because I started the other direction. And take that top arm up, ready to support the head, at least at the beginning of the pose. Keeping the outside arm reaching long and letting the neck get used to the idea of releasing itself into the world. You have to stay really grounded so you have a strong backbone to reach out at. And if you feel comfortable, you can release that bent arm and let the neck take a little more work. Keep that breath moving into the stretch. Use the nesting arm or the arm that was holding your head to reach and settle that head on the ground. We'll come all the way down to Shavasana now. So get your props ready. If you like a blanket under your head or under your knees, get that all set. And come comfortably down, taking your time. If there's another stretch you need, you might want a happy baby or bring your legs in for a moment, or perhaps a side stretch, hip twist, like one of those. Anything like that your body is asking for right now. Take time to do it. We have time. So give yourself what you need before you come to the ground and make yourself comfortable as you come to the ground. if you're in, I don't think anybody's in a cool area right now, but if you run cool, you might want a blanket over you. Under your head, rolled up under your knees is really comfortable on a sort of back. And you might do a pelvic tilt or two when you arrive to keep that back long. For Shavasana, you can have your legs long. You can have your legs tented and then relax them towards each other if that's easier on your back. And you can always take Shavasana in a fetal pose if that is better for you. There's no rules on this. It's making yourself as comfortable as you can to release to the ground. And as you come to the ground, again, find your attention on your body. Let your feet relax to the side if your legs are long. Your hands are palms up on the ground. Let your shoulder blades be tucked underneath. And again, tune in to the parts of your body that are on the floor. Tune in to all those areas making contact with the floor. And let them release into the floor. Find your breath and don't change it. Just take a moment to observe it. How's it feel? What's going on? Let your eyeballs fall back in your head, your tongue be relaxed in your mouth. And then let go of attention to your breath and reach into that very essential quiet place deep within you. And let yourself release and lie there. Be in that quiet center. Now let your breath deepen again. Come back into deep contact with your body. Become aware of the sounds of the room around you. You can let your eyes open and move however works for you, your hands, your feet, your breath, rolling your head back and forth. When you're ready, roll over to your right side. Take a full breath on your right side before you push up and join me in a seat for just a moment. Thank you all for being here. I wish you a laborless, happy holiday. Namaste. I'm going to stop the recording. If anybody wants to share anything, I'll unmute. You can unmute yourselves, I think is the way it works.